This place has been abandoned for a long time. What do you think they did here?
The runes don't indicate anything specific. There are no real markings. I wonder if this was a hidden facility.
Looks like we have this place all to ourselves.
There's only one way to find out what's inside. Shall we?
I'm certain this will be a fascinating experience.
Fascinatingly dumb.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. We are now at the abandoned research facility because Sonic and friends are trying to find a crystal before Lyric does, because Lyric's probably going to use those crystals to do something evil and dangerous and nefarious, no doubt. In case you haven't been paying attention to the story, because I know this game can be pretty boring in terms of its storytelling, in terms of its plot, and with the hub worlds and stuff. I've even had, like, 2 people tell me, like, Clement, I love your videos, but I'm probably going to skip out on this playthrough just because this game's not that exciting to watch. And I get that. I totally get that. I think there's a big difference in when you're actually playing the game versus when you're actually watching the game. Or even commentating over the game. But when I'm actually playing Rise of Lyric, I'm not actually super exhausted, like, oh my god, this is the most boring thing in the world ever. Especially when it comes to rooms like this, and stuff like this. I think the abandoned research facility is like the prototype de facto level of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. And the good thing is, it happens really early in the game that, like, if you don't like this level, chances are you should probably shut the game off and return it to whatever video store you got it from, because if you can't get into this level, you're not going to like the rest of the game. But there's lots of combat, there's lots of platforming, there's puzzles to solve. The research facility has pretty much everything that the game is going to encapsulate, so... And you know what? I actually really like this room where you have to choose either Amy or Knuckles, or both. If you want to get all the treasure chests and all of the crowns, which are all the collectibles, you will need to alternate between Amy and Knuckles, because each of their pathways have exclusive treasure chests and or crowns. But if you're just trying to get to the top and you don't really care about the collectibles, then all you really need to do is pick either Knuckles or Amy, and you just navigate all the way to the top of this room, and you don't have to worry about any enemies, and this is just pure platforming. This is just like really calm, soothing platforming. And you know, I'm a big platformer guy. I've played platform games my entire life, whether they were on the GameCube, PS2, Xbox, the PlayStation, the N64. You know, I love Banjo-Kazooie. I love Pac-Man World. I love this one Pitfall game for the GameCube. I'm a big fan of platformers. I've always been a big fan of platformers, and this is definitely reminiscent of games from that era, even though it does have a lot of story cutscenes and stuff as well. But, whereas some people might find Rise of Lyric torturous to play and super boring, you know, I do have these moments like here and eventually later in the Sky Fortress when you start, like, moving the mirrors with the lasers and stuff. I really like these soothing, calm platforming stuff. I'm not bored when I play this. The characters move just fast enough on screen, and my mind is racing just well enough thinking about what I need to do to get to the next platform, that I can get into this. I can get into this platforming, and I can get into this gameplay just fine.
Here's a bounce pad.
Yes, Amy, that's a bounce pad. And yes, that counter's going to be going throughout the entire playthrough. I'm going to be keeping track of every time they talk about bounce pads.
Are you guys okay?
Looks like we've fallen through a trap door!
We're trapped down here! We'll keep going forward and hopefully meet up with you ahead!
Let's get going. They can meet up with us later.
You also get these moments where the characters constantly get split up. I mean, we've already had Amy and Knuckles in the mining level, climbing to the top just now, and now we're still sticking with Amy and Knuckles, so we're not going to be playing as Sonic and Tails for another 10 minutes or so, but it gives you an idea to experiment with all the different characters and see all their different abilities. Again, I usually prefer playing as Amy over Knuckles. That's why I'm skipping a lot of Knuckles sections, just because I find it a lot faster and quicker to triple jump to things and to use all of the pink balance beams that she goes on than it is to climb around as Knuckles. But, you know, at least Knuckles' climbing is pretty fast for what it is. At least I can move to the right and left and up and down really smoothly with Knuckles. And, you know. But you know what would have made Knuckles climbing even better? You know what would have made the game so much better? If he got stuck on walls and, like, you had trouble getting off the walls every time you tried to climb them. Wouldn't that be so funny? Wouldn't that be hilarious if you climbed a wall with Knuckles and then you tried to jump off and then he just goes, and he gets stuck to the wall? That would be so funny. It would be hilarious. That would be the funniest thing in the whole goddamn world. I'd be laughing for 10 minutes straight because that would be so funny as a gamer to have controls not work and to get stuck on walls. Ha, 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 ha. I might need a passive-aggressive counter as well, but here we are getting into the bulk of the combat. We're going to be fighting a lot of robots in this level. There's a lot of waiting and elevator sections in the abandoned research facility. And oh, there's going to be lots of combat in this whole entire game, so this isn't even like this isn't even like 20% of the combat in the game. This is like 2% of the combat in the game. There's so much beating up. But yeah, Amy Rose has a spin attack when you mash the top button, so it allows her to constantly spin for a good period of time. And it also allows you to move around on the floor when you're spinning around, so I can actually navigate her with the analog stick. And it's actually pretty good for dodging enemy projectiles, because sometimes when you're doing combos with the other characters, they're always stuck in their animations, and they're always stuck doing their thing. And so, like, if an enemy is shooting, like, a machine gun at you, or he's shooting, like, laser blast at you, it's a little harder to dodge. But when you're Amy and you're spinning around, you can actually see those coming and then maybe move her to the right or left as you're spinning into things, you know? So, Amy's pretty valid to use in combat. Her hammer's pretty darn strong. Knuckles is easily the strongest character of the four. And you can also build up these charge moves as well. Like, each character, whether you're Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, if you hold the punch button down, they will actually build up their attack, and then they'll release. Like, Sonic will do a big drop kick, Amy will do a big swing, Knuckles will give a big sweet-ass punch, and Knuckles' punch, when fully charged, can probably kill most grunts in one hit. Yes, Knuckles, it's a bounce pad. Thank you for pointing that out. This little robot I just killed, he dropped an item, and the item is randomized every time you play the game. Sometimes I pick up a little gun, sometimes I pick up a trombone, sometimes I pick up a big red button. It sort of depends on the playthrough. But right now I've picked up a tornado gun that shoots tornadoes when I fire it, because there's these little helper robots that you encounter every now and then who give you like this weird random bonus item. And sometimes they're useful, sometimes not so much. The tornado gun does leave me standing in the open, and you only get like 5 or 6 shots. And once those 5 or 6 shots are gone, then you gotta go back to combat and beating up more of these lyric enemies. We don't fight Dr. Eggman robots at all in this game. In the show, he has Motobugs, he has Caterkillers, or not Caterkillers, he has Buzz Bombers. He has a lot of the traditional badniks you would have seen in Sonic 1 in Green Hill Zone, you know? But you don't fight any Eggman badniks in Rise of Lyric. All you fight are the Lyric guys with their weird snake bodies. And the snakes actually try and go into, like, empty suits of armor so that they can go into and pilot those. So, like, sometimes when you get into a situation, you'll see a whole bunch of snakes slithering around, and if you destroy the armor before they get to them, then you actually destroy that, and then you can just fight the snake all by themselves. And as a snake, they're so much weaker than if they were in a big piece of armor. This is the trombone! I just destroyed another little mini random robot, and this is a weapon that you can use. You can blow music at people. Not quite as satisfying as just making the robots kill themselves with Vector's awful singing in Sonic Heroes, but it'll do, I guess. It'll do. Again, the items you get are completely random. When I did the test playthrough for Rise of Lyric, when I had to record this one thing involving time travel that I'll be showing off later, all the items I was getting were completely random. They were just completely different from how my recording for the Let's Play was. So Yeah.
You deactivate one battery.
In terms of the combat, every character has like basic attacks. They have a special attack, which I mentioned. You know, Tails has the bomb, Sonic has the homing attack and the spin dash. Amy can spin around with her hammer. Knuckles can dig into the ground on certain locations, so it's situational. And that's pretty much it. They also have a dodge roll, so like if you're fighting a whole bunch of yellow robots who are shooting laser beams at you, you can push the L or R button in order to dodge roll out of the way of that. And it's not the most deep combat system in the world. By the way, the balancing beams can be pretty exact sometimes. Sometimes they're really good about locking on the character to it and like locking me on to where I should be landing. Like you see how Amy kind of shifted position and went 2D all of a sudden? But it's not happening here. I keep falling. Could be a little better, but whatever. But, you know, a lot of people criticize the combat because there's not much to it. You know, it's certainly not as deep as the Werehog. It doesn't have alternating combo kind of stuff where, like, with the Werehog, you had 2 punch buttons, right? You had, like, the horizontal punches, you had the linear vertical punches, and you could alternate them to do, like, different things. And then Werehog could do, like, a weird cartwheel. He could do a Shoryuken uppercut. He could do, like, all these different abilities and all these different move sets that gave him a lot more options in combat. And with Sonic Boom, you just X, 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 X. And if you want to use a special weapon, Y, 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 Y. Or I'm probably getting the buttons mixed up. But I get that. I do. But, you know, I do like the fact that when you're in most levels, not this situation where I'm in right now where I only have Amy and Knuckles, but I do appreciate the fact that at least in most levels, you can choose whether you want to throw bombs as Tails. You can choose whether you want to spin around as Amy. You can choose whether you want to homing attack spinners as Sonic. Like, at least you do get to choose what kind of ranged fighter you are, what kind of damage you want to be dealing. If you want to be really powerful as Knuckles, then you can choose to play as Knuckles and deal out the heavy hits. If you want to, you know, throw bombs at people and send little dummy robots and stuff as Tails, then that's an option for you. And, you know, we've all grown up on games that weren't the deepest things in the world combat-wise. You know, I grew up on a lot of Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo games like Streets of Rage, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, that weren't particularly deep in terms of their combat. They also were, you mash one button and then you have one special attack. And it's not the worst thing in the world. And, you know, if I was to compare this to a Lego game, like a Traveler's Tales Lego game, I would actually say sometimes it's more advanced than Lego games, because, like, I have nephews, right? And sometimes when I go over and meet up with them for Thanksgiving or I babysit them, I will see the kinds of video games that they play. And my nephews really love Lego Batman. And I've played Lego Batman with my nephews, right? And in that game, you predominantly play as Batman and Robin in the story mode. And what Batman does is he does like these little happy slaps. Like you mash the X button and he does happy slaps, and all these goons come racing towards you. You get surrounded by like Joker goons and Penguin goons and Mr. Freeze goons, and they all just kind of circle around you, and you just happy slap them all until they break into Lego pieces. And that game doesn't have a dodge roll. The only other secondary ability Batman has in Lego Batman, in his basic suit, not counting all the different costumes and different like armors that Batman gets in that game, but like he could throw a batarang, you know, and it's just happy slaps or batarang. And my nephews, they don't care. They love the combat of Lego Batman. They love Lego Batman so much. They just love beating up on all those different Lego enemies and stuff. And Rise of Lyric's got more than that. It really does.
No, basically, it's a leap up onto the beam, then a triple toe spin, and then down, and boom, that's how we do it.
Scanning life forms. Negative for blue hedgehog.
But positive for red echidna.
Red echidna irrelevant.
What do you want with the blue hedgehog?
Information classified.
Come on!
Peer pressure acknowledged. Acquiescing in 3, 2. Blue hedgehog is necessary to stop Lyric. Disclose hedgehog location immediately.
How do we know we can trust you enough to tell you that Sonic and Tails are a few levels down? What?
Swing and a miss.
My thoughts exactly on that joke, Sonic.
And so that's where I try to use those zingers like Scrambled Eggman. You always try to use them just before you win a battle with an enemy. Important point here, they have to hear it or it won't have the same impact.
What do you think this is?
Only one way to find out.
Okay, so now we're coming into the water running sections. Every now and then you'll pass through this gate and Sonic will gain the ability to run across water. And you may think that, like, oh, he's just running really, really fast. No, no, no. If I stop moving, if I stop holding the control stick upwards, Sonic just sort of stands above water. There's this weird protective barrier that's keeping him above the water. And I can stop at any point I want. You know, I'm not going to run into the wall and immediately go splat and then die. Like, I can touch walls. The only thing I really can't touch are, like, you know, bombs that I don't want to run into and stuff. And you're just running through the water, you're dodging all the things, you're trying to get all the rings that come across, and you're trying to double jump over all the barriers and get to where you need to go. So, yeah. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the most uncomfortable thing in the world. There are eventually going to be big open bodies of water that Sonic is going to be running across when we come back to the hub worlds and stuff. And, you know, that's actually not that bad in my opinion. It's a little bit harder to do like a 180 and get completely turned around from where you are. So you will have to make like these hard angled turns. You will have to go in a kind of horseshoe circle just to kind of turn around in certain spots. But I find most of the time when you actually go into the water, you don't usually want to turn around because the place you're running to is probably where you want to go. And, I don't know, I think it's kind of satisfying. I think you're going to be seeing later in this level when I'm actually, like, dodging all of the things that I need to jump over and I'm dodging the bombs and stuff. It moves fast enough. It feels kind of exciting for what it's supposed to be. And, you know, at least it's not like a crazy bullshit Mach speed section where, like, the slightest thing can kill you because, oh, you touched a wall or, oh, you can't stop running. Like, at any point, you can kind of slow down Sonic on the water and just sort of take your time with it a little bit. So, you know. I feel like a lot of people might be surprised I'm defending quite a bit of this game. I'm defending quite a bit. Like, I'm trying to be an apologist or something. Look, at the end of the day, guys, I still say that at the end of the day, Rise of Lyric is not a game that you should buy. It's not a game you should go out and look for. It's not a game that is one of the best in Sonic. It's not one of the best games. This is like a typical kids game. I always compare this to like a Traveler's Tales Lego game because it feels like a Traveler's Tales Lego game in terms of like how all the different characters...
Bouncy, bouncy!
Yes, Sonic, bouncy, bouncy. But in terms of like how all the characters have different abilities, you know, Amy has the triple jump so she can reach higher places that other characters can't. Sort of like how Jar Jar Binks can in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace of the Lego Star Wars, you know? Knuckles is the strong guy. He can destroy things that other people can't. Kind of like the Hulk in a Traveler's Tales Marvel game, you know? A Lego Marvel game. And, Tails has the gadgetry. He has the little buddy bot that can open up passageways and go into like little computers and stuff. Sort of like the hacker characters in other Lego games, you know? They all serve their own little purposes. They all do their own little unique things. And you just fight wave after wave of enemies, and, yeah, it's not the most exciting platforming in the world, it's not the most exciting combat in the world, but for little children, I don't think this is that bad. Like, this running through the water stuff, this isn't horrible. I don't hate this. I don't think this is one of the worst games I've ever played. So many people are always like, oh man, you poor soul, I can't believe you have to play this. I can't believe you're going to subject yourself to this awful game. Why would you do this to yourself? And I'm just like, have you played Rise of Lyric? Because this is not that hard to play. I don't know. I'm not as super bored by Rise of Lyric as some people are. I think watching Rise of Lyric can be boring. Absolutely watching Rise of Lyric can be boring. When you're playing it, it's not that boring. I think this is pretty fun, pretty enjoyable for what it is. Not the most exciting thing in the world, and I'm certainly not going to say it doesn't have problems and jank and frame rate issues and stuff, but, you know. This is just one of those instances where I just don't get it. I don't get why someone would compare this to...
Bounce pad!
Yes, Tails, bounce pad. It's just one of those instances where I can't believe there are people who will compare this to one other game in the series.
Get those feet spinning.
You know, the combat might be kind of lacking in Rise of Lyric, but you know what would have made this game so much better? You know what would have made Rise of Lyric so much better? If Amy had, like, one hammer swing, and you had to be so close to people in order to hit them. Like, you had to be, like, kind of touching them. They had to kind of be breathing on you just so you could hit them with that one hammer swing. And what if she could turn invisible? Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been the most fun gameplay style. That would have been so satisfying. Wouldn't it be great if in the combat I had to keep relying on all these boxes and all these different outside objects because I don't have a punch button or any kind of kick button, but I just had to like rely on weapons that were around me? Yeah, that'd be so fun. That'd be so damn fun, wouldn't it? There's gonna be a lot of passive aggression in this goddamn playthrough. But, yeah. Here's Tails using his bombs. He's great as a ranged fighter because he can keep his distance from pretty much every enemy. There's gonna be, like, these bigger juggernaut kind of enemies who are, like, beefy when it comes to health and very powerful when they hit you and stuff. And, like, Tails is great for them because you could be such a far distance, and even when they try to get close to you and try and swing at you, you can dodge roll out of the way and just keep throwing bombs. And, this game has a ranking system that actually goes into triple S rank. And every time you keep hitting things, the ranking goes higher and higher and higher. And you'll see in part 4, I actually achieve a triple S rank with Tails because having distance and being able to throw bombs is so damn useful. And I think actually Tails is the best combat-wise because he speeds up fights really quickly. You just kind of hang in the back, throw bomb, throw bomb, move, throw bomb, move, throw bomb, move, and, you know, there's not much you can't handle. You know, one thing I do not like about Rise of Lyric, and especially Traveler's Tales Lego games, though, is that this game does not have a live system. It does have health. That's what all the rings are for. Rings are useless. There's so many rings in every single area, right? You can only hold 100 unless you connect with Shattered Crystal on the 3DS. But you can only hold 100. They don't buy anything. Like, crowns buy things. Treasure chests, scrap metal, those buy things. Those buy upgrades and stuff for you. But the rings, that's just your health. And you can only hold 100 rings unless you bought another game, you know? And when you run out of all your rings, your character will die, the screen will fade, and then like 1 second later, it will fade back, and your character will just sort of spawn in, and they'll be fine. Like, the fight will go on as if nothing happened. Even the amount of damage and enemies you've killed will be exactly the same.
This place gives me the creeps.
Relax. It's not like anything's gonna jump out at you. I really didn't see that coming.
Scanning life forms. Hedgehog and Fox confirmed. It is agreeable to see you both once again.
Why does everybody keep saying that? Who are you?
I am Maya. Long ago, I rebelled against my creator, Lyric, and helped imprison him. Now, 1,000 years later, he has returned.
We know that. We're looking for the crystals to stop him.
Processing. There is a map that reveals the location of all the crystals.
Where is it?
Not where. When. It disappeared long ago. But this machine can transport you to a time before it vanished.
Let's go.
Facility power is non-functional. Generator requires reactivation. Location is up there.
Amy, Maya's going to help us with the crystals, but we need the generator up and running.
We're on it!
Me too!
And so we rejoin Amy and Knuckles. But, yeah, I don't like games where, like, there's no penalty for dying all that much, just because, well, then I don't really have to try. Like, you'll literally be in the final boss fight of this game, and if the final boss kills you, you just come back immediately, and all the damage you've done to the final boss, it's still damaged. You know, nothing really changes. It's just, why even have a health system at all? Why not even just no health bars, and, like, okay, they take damage, but nothing actually happens, you know? Like, I know that, like a Traveler's Tales Lego game, you do lose scrap metal the more you die. So, like, if you keep dying, you're gonna keep losing out on that scrap metal. which you need to get upgrades to make your characters a little bit stronger or whatever. But honestly, that's like a drop in the bucket. You know, that's like a drop from the bucket of water that is Rise of Lyric. Oh no, I lost a little bit of scrap metal. Oh boy! And as you can see with this playthrough, it's not like this is one of the hardest games in the world. I have full health. I've been handling the combat just fine. I have not had any threat of death whatsoever as I've been playing this. And even when they start introducing the harder enemies later into the game, I don't think it's that much worse.
Sparkly.
We need to get the power from the crystal to all the fuse boards.
How do we do that without frying?
But you know, it's a good game for like preschoolers. It's a good game for like little children. Little children can play Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and if they're not the greatest at video games, if they're not super experts who can't handle what people want from a Devil May Cry Bayonetta combat system, then little kids will enjoy it just fine, because every time they die, they'll just instantly respawn, and they won't be backtracking and redoing stuff over and over and over again like you can in some video games where, okay, maybe there's not enough checkpoints and I have to do this thing over and over again, and it's, you know, some kids don't want to be stressed, some kids don't want to be mad, some kids don't want to sit through fucking millions of loading screens and have to go through confusing navigating hub worlds that nobody... The passive-aggressive meter is going to get pretty fucking high by the end of this thing, I'm telling you. Not to say that the hub world in Rise of Lyric's great, super amazing either, but, you know, it's not as confusing. It's not as confusing. Anywho, all I have to do is take down all of these fuses, and then I get the crystal, and I can get the hell out of here. There are some puzzles where, like, two characters need to pull with the enter beams, and I really wish they didn't do that. It's not a big problem because the AI does work for the most part every time I've tried it, but what if the AI didn't, and then the second person, like, had trouble pulling things, or didn't show up to pull things? Because that would be, like, a huge design problem. That would be a huge design mistake, but for my few playthroughs, I've been lucky. They always help out. Got the crystal!
Portal activating. Setting coordinates. Upon completion, I will send you through.
Not so fast, Sonic.
Shadow, what are you doing here?
Not a great time, Shadow. I'm a little busy saving the world.
Saving the world? You? Don't make me laugh. You're weak. And you know what makes you weak? Your loyalty to your pathetic friends. You're not going through that portal. I'm gonna show you just how weak you are.
Oh boy, Shadow the Hedgehog. So yeah, we're fighting Shadow, and the only real strategy I have for Shadow is that every now and then he's going to be turning completely red, at which point he'll be invincible, and you can't really touch him. But once his skin stops glowing red, then I would just, like, jump, homing attack him as much as I can, and then get away from him, because I know he's going to skate around and shoot energy balls at me after doing so.
You win! Nice work, Sonic!
Chaos Spear!
He shoots spears when you get to the ice world. You just want to make sure you don't run into them. He still skates around. You need to jump a lot because he's really fast and it can be really hard to dodge him. And when he starts shooting his energy balls, you know his red aura is about to go away, and then you can just jump and homing attack to your heart's content. You can also fight him as Tails if you want, but nah, I'm gonna fight him like Sonic. Sonic versus Shadow, come on, it's the only way to be.
Is that all you got?
And then in the third and final phase, you go to the prehistoric times, and Shadow just constantly teleports all over the place. And he has contact damage when he teleports all over the place, so I always just, like, jump around haphazardly trying to dodge him. But Otherwise, I wait for the energy balls, I wait for his body to stop glowing, and then I just homing attack him, and that's about it. Shadow the Hedgehog is not the same character as he is in the main continuity. He's not really an anti-hero. He's just kind of a straight-up villain in the Sonic Boomiverse. At least from most of the episodes I've seen him in, from his behavior in Shattered Crystal and Rise of Lyric, I don't really see anti-hero, I just see kind of villain. He is against Lyric as well, but I don't know. I don't think that's enough for anti-hero. Stop teleporting, you goddamn bastard. And we're done.
Portal is ready.
What happened to Shadow?
Calculating. He appears to have landed in the near future. Not yours. Mine. Now go, before the portal closes.
And that's that, ladies and gentlemen. I remember a lot of people were bothered when Shadow showed up in Rise of Lyric because they don't really explain his character all that much. They don't explain why he has this beef with Sonic and his friends. And even in the TV show, they don't really explain that all that much either, because he literally shows up for the first time in Season 1's season finale. And the only thing we know about him is that he's a villain, and Eggman's like a huge fanboy of his. Like, Eggman is like super gaga over how evil and badass Shadow is. And Shadow just wants to kill Sonic because, I don't know, he's evil? So he has the same voice actor. He practically looks identical to how he did in the main continuity. But he's not really anti-hero. He's more just straight up villain in the Boomiverse. And hope you enjoyed Shadow there, because we're not going to see him until the very ending of the game after we defeat the final boss. So, bye, Shadow! Anywho, folks, we shall see where Sonic and Tails have ended up now in Part 4.